We're making candles. And to start, I'm gonna do this jar. This is just a regular, I think it's either 12 or 16 ounces. I think it's a 16 ounce just canning jar. I added some little red, white, and blue firework accents, and this is oven cured enamel paint, so it's like heat safe, so when the candle heats up inside the jar it doesn't like melt the paint off or cause the paint to lift from the jar. So we're gonna start with this. My plan is to do red, white, and blue layered wax. So first things first, we gotta do a little bit of math. So what I'm gonna do first is I have a food scale right here. I'm gonna weigh my jar, and I'm gonna do fluid ounces just because it makes it easier. And then I'm going to zero out the jar, and I'm gonna fill it up with water, just as much water as I want the wax to come up to in the candle. Do a little more. Yeah, that works. Okay, I'm gonna weigh the water in here. Okay, so I have 13.29 fluid ounces of water in the jar. So wax weighs a little bit. We're making candles. And to start, I'm gonna do this jar. This is just a regular, I think it's either 12 or 16 ounces. I think it's a 16 ounce just canning jar. I added some little red, white, and blue firework accents, and this is oven cured enamel paint, so it's like heat safe, so when the candle heats up inside the jar it doesn't like melt the paint off or cause the paint to lift from the jar. So we're gonna start with this. My plan is to do red, white, and blue layered wax. So first things first, we gotta do a little bit of math. I'm gonna hold on, I need a calculator, and my phone is almost dead. Hold on. Okay. So there's that. Okay. So what I'm gonna do first is I have a food scale right here. I'm gonna weigh my jar, and I'm gonna do fluid ounces just because it makes it easier. And then I'm going to zero out the jar, and I'm gonna fill it up with water, just as much water as I want the wax to come up to in the candle. Do a little more. Yeah, that works. Okay, I'm gonna weigh the water in here. Okay, so I have 13.29 fluid ounces of water in the jar. So wax weighs a little bit less than water. It's 80%. So I'm gonna take my 13.29, I'm gonna multiply it by 0.8. And so I need 10.63 ounces of wax to go into the jar to be melted and all that good stuff. But since I'm doing 3 different colors, I'm gonna divide that by 3. So I'm gonna need 3.54. Yes, my dog wants to know what I'm doing. I'm gonna need 3.54 ounces of wax in each section. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna weigh that out. zero out the bowl. And I'm gonna add my wax. I'm using soy wax, still organic, still non-toxic. I was doing beeswax for a little while, but beeswax just does not hold fragrance at all. And I like scented candles, so not my vibe. I still have a lot of beeswax, and I think I'm gonna make some beeswax wraps. You know, like reusable parchment, well, not parchment paper, reusable wax paper pretty much. I'm kind of excited about that. So I need 3.54, 3.0, that's a little much. Take out like a pinch, that should be, yeah, that works. Okay, so now I've got my wax all weighed out. Going to put it in my pitcher to go on the stove top. Okay. Now I put that on low heat. It's going to take a minute to heat up. I usually try to heat it up to at least 170 degrees Fahrenheit before I add in the color. And then I take it off of the heat for a little bit and add the fragrance, and then I pour once it cools down to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And I have a thermometer that I keep to keep track of that. So now what I'm going to do is prep the jar. So I have some alcohol here. I'm just going to put a little bit on a paper towel and wipe out the inside. This is, oh my gosh, a little too small of an opening for my hand. This is not ideal. Okay, I think that's good enough. Okay. And then as that dries, I'm going to I use wick stickers just because it makes it easier, but you can use like hot glue to stick the wick to the bottom. With hot glue, you have to be really, really careful not to pull on the wick at all when you pour the hot wax, because the glue will kind of melt and make it easy to kind of like pull up the wick. So just be careful if you should choose to use hot glue. Okay, now I gotta stick my hand in there again and make sure it's nice and stuck to the bottom. Okay, so this wick is like just long enough. I will have to cut it just a little bit, but there we go. So I have these little metal wick holders. I like these a lot because, I don't know, I feel like with the wick being that short, I can't like stick it on anything that's gonna be sturdy enough. So I like to use the wick holders, and they just kind of chill. I made candles last night, so this is kind of already prepped, but I have some parchment paper down to keep the wax from getting on my counter, and obviously the dye gets a little messy sometimes, so that stays on here. This is a meat thermometer, but I'm using it to measure my wax temperature. And then I use this is an iced tea spoon that I just kind of elected to use as my candle spoon. So yeah, that's kind of my workstation. And then I have my eco dyes and my scents. I actually do need to go get my scent, but the wax is already starting to melt. Okay, so now we are officially all melted. So I am going to add the dye now. So this is going to be a red dye. I have a pink, sort of magenta-ish dye, and a blue dye, and a yellow dye. I need a red if I'm gonna get like a red color, which is what I really want for this. So I'm gonna add in all that. That's a lot of dye. So this is going to lighten because it's a white wax. So I want to get like a really deep red going here. So I am gonna need a little bit more than just that. Okay. Now, taking it off of the heat. I'm gonna turn the stovetop off for now. I'm gonna let this cool down just a little bit before adding scent. Okay, so I am adding a peach fragrance. This is just gonna be like a tiny little bit in here because this is not the main scent. The main scent is going to be fresh cut grass. The name of this candle is Smells Like Freedom. So peaches and fresh cut grass, yeah. I'm from Georgia, so it smells like freedom to me. And I'm just going to continue to stir on this wax until the temperature gets down to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take. All right, so we got down to, I think like 124. That should be plenty cool enough. So I'm just gonna double check that the wick is straight and we're just gonna pour. All right. A little bit of a red stripe down the wick, but yeah, it'll be all right. So I'm just gonna wipe down. I just use a paper towel to wipe excess. It's nothing really transfers if there's a little bit of excess left. So get the bottom of our can all straightened out. So it's going to be very red. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay, now we're going to repeat that process 3 times. Let's see, how good of a... So we're still a little warm on the red wax. I think the red is coming out really well though. I really like that color. So I think by the time that we are done prepping the white wax, it should be cool enough to pour. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure out the white wax, just like before. Okay, now we are all good and melted. Let's go ahead and add our fragrances. Little bit of peach. A little bit of fresh cut grass. And we stir for a while. Okay, did not take nearly as long as last time. So we'll go ahead and pour the white. All right, looks like our white wax has hardened, so we're gonna go ahead and get started on the blue. Already got everything melting in here. We're almost done. Okay, so adding the dye, I want to add again a decent amount of dye, but the blue dye seems to be a lot more saturated than the red dye, so shouldn't need like as much. That should be good. Oh yeah, this is like this is like royal blue. Yeah, that's gonna be, I think that'll be blue enough. Even if it's a little lighter, it's okay. I just wanted, at least for the red, to be able to tell that it was red, not pink. Take off the heat, probably scoot that over, and add our fragrances. A bit of peach, a lot of bit of grass. pour. Just get the wick straight enough. I had a lot more red wax than anything else, I guess. But, alright. Time to set and cool. Okay, I think we're set on the candle. I'm gonna let it cool off just a little bit more before I cut the wick. But guys, that turned out so good. Like, I was expecting to have some like blemishes or bleeds or something somewhere, but that turned out really freaking good. So I gotta clean off this little bit right here and then cut the wick, and then we should be done. And that's our candle. I'm gonna call it Smells Like Freedom, because yeah, smells and looks like freedom. But yeah, the wick is cut to about 1/2 inch. I usually say like 1/4 inch, but I don't really care. But yeah, there's the finished product. If you guys enjoyed that video, be sure to like and subscribe, and check out my Etsy shop if you're interested in purchasing any of my products. Bye.